Hey friends out there in YouTube land, Rob here today. We're out at the Virginia Beach fishing pier. Actually, this is getting ready to be sold by the people that own it to the people that just purchased or own all of the Sensations. I don't know how that's going, but we thought we'd go ahead and get some photos. Turns out the pier is actually closed today. You can't go down it, probably because of that sale. And anyway, today I wanted to share with you a hot spot, a Virginia Beach travel destination, how to get great photos. I do portraits at the pier as part of my professional business, but I'd like to share with you how to do it on your cell phone and some of my best shots. So stick around. The first one's coming up right here, and it's that beautiful Virginia Beach sign. It's really cool. It's iconic. So let's jump into it. Guys, we're going to be shooting today with the Instax Mini Evo. This camera right here, really nice camera for just fun, instant hybrid prints, and we're going to be printing them out. It's a cold day. Ira's got the Polaroid. Things to think about with Polaroid are the temperature. The temperature itself may cause the Polaroid to look a little bit magenta. We're also going to talk about the limited dynamic range of this camera specifically and how we're going to get the beautiful saturation in the sky. And one of the ways is to actually use the sky as the key light specifically from the sun and not shoot backlit subjects. And when we do get into an area where we've got lower light, we're going to use this flash right here, which is a constant strobe. We won't necessarily need it here. So come over my shoulder. You can see this straight from behind or off to the side. Robert, the cameraman's working. It's difficult to actually see the screen on the Mini Evo because it's not very bright, but we're trying to frame this entire shot up. Now, the Evo itself has several different filters that we're going to be using on the Evo. We can't do any post-production because it's going to be an instant print. It's going to come out and develop right away, but we can choose some different settings as we go forward into it. For me, at the beach, I like two very important settings. I like the blue filter and the light leak. Well, I like the blue film effect and the light leak filter. I actually have that saved to my custom, so I'm actually switching to that now. I'm looking at my screen and it's very dark, so I'm also going to push my left button on the control pad. I'm going to take flash, and in this instant, I'm going to suppress it and turn it off because it will not help here. I'm going to come over here to where my exposure compensation is, and I'm going to bring it up to, in this instance, I'm going to do about +1, maybe +1/3 of a stop. There we go, looking good. And we're so far back, we can do two choices. We've got the ability to get a landscape with the whole sign, or we can go ahead and get portrait. We'll do the landscape first. In the landscape orientation, I'm thinking I might want a little bit less, and just back to 0. Ira, you can look at me. Okay, now for our actual picture, we're going to put the crosshairs in the middle on him, take the shot, big smile, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Boom, that beautiful photo is looking good. Now, I'll show you what a difference in perspective can make. It's going to be hard to see here, but I think right about here, looking at me, Ira, we're waiting for the sign to go, 1, 2, and 3. So we've got two photos, and it'll show you just the difference in perspective because we will get some lines kind of blended in as we go. I think that's going to be it for now. I'm going to get a selfie off camera with my boys, and I'll show that to you in just a minute. So come on, let's do it. There's a lot that's going on over here, and we're just going to get down there. Ocean Eddies is another iconic shot. Lots of times I like to take pictures right over there on that little, those little steps. It's a great shot, but we're going to forego that today and just keep on trucking around through. And as you can see, as we come around the corner, you'll see why this is one of my favorite spots to photograph right here. As you can see, this area is really quite cool. There's a lot of nice stuff looking around right here. We're going to do a lot of work underneath the pier right here with the kiddos. Great spots for photos, totally great spots for photos. So today we're talking about the FujiFilm Instax mini camera. This camera's got a nice ISO range up to 1600, which is pretty cool. It's a digital camera shooting Instax mini film, which means that it prints images like an instant camera. Think Polaroid, but Instax. It's very important. The other thing to know is that this is a 28mm equivalent f2 lens, but the f2 isn't converted to that 35mm. It's more like an f24 lens in full frame. The 28mm conversion is full frame, so we're going to need to use a lot of light. Usually I use a rose filter. I'm going to take this rose filter off today, and when we're in the shadow, I'm going to use this light directly. I will also be using the flash when we're in the shadow as well. It will help quite a bit. Let's get to it. So we're actually going to take this shot right here. I love this particular spot. We're going to move back, Robert. And I just make sure that you can see this. Notice how his face is in shadow. We got your glasses chain hanging out of there. I don't know, you think you're on the block, you need to hide that. Yeah, it's no good in the photo. We always want to make sure that whatever's not interesting in our photo or distracting is gone. Chains like that are no good. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on the flash so that we can actually see the power of the light. There we go. It's gonna be very helpful when we turn on the camera. In this instance, we're actually gonna use the flash on the camera. Camera's powering on, and we're gonna get this shot right here, don't you worry. For this particular shot, I'm not going to use the filter that I was talking about before. I'm actually gonna do two separate ones. I'm gonna do light leak, but I'm not gonna do light leak. I'm gonna do monochrome and vignette. And I'm gonna go ahead and press my right button here to turn flash to force flash. And I'm also going to evaluate my exposure that I've got right here. So I'm looking at the exposure from what I can see in the camera. You can come over. Can you get this over my shoulder, Ira? And we're actually gonna use the background to help us get a shot like what we want. I need you to step this way some, a little bit more. When we shoot like this, yeah, that's good enough, son. You just stand right there. When we shoot like this, we only get one shot. We want to make sure that we get the right background framed the way that we want. And we have to do that by looking at the camera at the same time. We could bring Robert into the sun by stepping forwards or stepping backwards. We're going to bring his face into the sun by stepping backwards a little more, okay? But that puts his face at the wrong angle. Maybe we can actually come forward some. There you go. There you go, a little more. And we're moving it. We need to be onto this side. That's great. So if we're gonna be here, go up against this pole. Right there. There you go. Now lean up against the pole. Great. Bring one hand out, put it on your jacket like that. Good. Let's bring your hand off your body some. We're talking posing right now, looking down. Now we've got a shot that's really, really framed up very nicely. I've gone ahead and selected 0 as my exposure compensation. We're using the slanted pole to create a diagonal in the shot, and we're gonna go ahead and take the shot here. I need to make sure that my self timer is off. It's currently on from that selfie we took earlier. Half press in situations like this can be difficult. It doesn't always want to focus, but I think we're good. 1, 2, and 3. We've got the shot there. Good, that looks nice. We're gonna come up here and take a portrait style image. Use your other hand, pop the collar a little bit with both hands. Okay, instead of holding it and grabbing it like you're trying to do something, you're popping the collar, you're just using your front 2 fingers. Not like that. It's not something disgusting you don't want to touch. Yeah. We always want to make sure that our hands and things that we're doing don't look like they're being forced movements. When we do portraiture, you want everything to look natural. Most of the time when you ask someone to pose like a model, especially one that is just getting started, or people that you might be photographing like family and friends, they get real stiff. You have to get them to relax so that those hand movements look a lot nicer. There we go. Open this hand up just a little bit. There you are. We don't ever want strong fingers together that make knuckles crossed. We want light fingers. There it is, looking good. Now, in this one, we shoot 3 different ranges. We shoot wide, full length, and close up in order to get the shot. We're still in monochrome right here. This time I'm moving to make sure that the background is not surrounding his head in a strange way. And I think here I could very easily add a little bit of extra light to it. I'm gonna add just a little bit of light for the background. There we go. I'm doing that by subtracting light, so I just lowered my exposure because I know the flash is gonna relight. Nice, that's good. Okay, now we need to take a wide shot. So we're gonna step back. This wide shot will need to have my shadow not in it, so I'm gonna come down, get close. And now on this one, we lose a lot of detail because we lowered the exposure and now we've stepped back. Our flash will be less productive, so we need to go ahead and hit the left button again and raise our flash or raise our exposure. I'm going up to about +1 right now. Actually, I'm a little bit less than +1. Put the green box on him, and we've got a choice. We can shoot out to the right or we can shoot out to the left. I think we want him looking left in the direction that opens to the frame. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, I'm loving that. Now that we've got that shot, there's a couple things we want to do before we go anywhere. And the first one is to change our filter, everything back to normal, because we don't happen to have a regular shot of this. Also, people are asking me whether or not this image, the image that's digitally captured, is as good as the image captured from a cell phone. And the answer is it's not, and I'll take that photo right now. We'll do the same thing. Boom, and we'll print those off later maybe, but we'll definitely do a video at some point to show you the difference. All right, let's take another couple shots and move on to the next one. So right now I want to get a picture with Ira. We're going to do a shot and a selfie. We're going to take one in the same kind of area. We also have to make sure that we're taking the proper pictures. With this, we don't get to change the color after the fact. So we're doing a black and white, the monochrome with the vignette, and we're also going to do a normal, and we're also going to do a pale or the retro blue with the light leak. We'll start off with the retro blue with the light leak. I've got that saved to my favorites, so I'm going to go ahead and press my plus button twice, and I'm going to move over to the light leak in blue. Now that I've got that, I'm also going to push left on the camera in order to bring up my on-screen menu, and I'm going to bring the exposure down back to normal, which is 0. And from here, I think I like what Ira's doing. Lean up against the pole. In fact, lean up against this side of the pole. Loving it, looking great. Okay, so as we're there, we've got our wide shot. I believe I'm in the shot, so I gotta get out of the shot. I gotta get my shadow out of the shot as best as I can. Look up, Ira. Great, 1, 2, and 3. We're gonna do another shot right here as a portrait. Come in right here, look that way, Ira. On 3, on 3, on 3, on 3, 1, 2, and 3. I'm loving that, so smile, chin up some. And look towards me a little bit. Great, I love this. I need to change that exposure a little bit. Okay, he's got a lot of squints going on. Yeah, we'll get the sun. Let's give him some sunglasses. More squints, no squints. I love it. Oh, I love it, I love it. Okay, so with this photo filter, we're having to make a compromise between blowing out the highlights on his face and showing some of the shadow detail. Unfortunately, we can't make the camera any less responsive because it doesn't have manual mode, so we have to use the exposure compensation that it gives us. To brighten the shadows would automatically brighten his face, and we can't put a neutral density filter on this, although we could shoot through one. That's not what we're talking about today. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it again anyway, okay? All right, now, grab your camera with both hands. Nice, nice, I love it, I love it. Looking good, right from the top. Whenever we take these type of pictures, we want to frame up in the center so that we're eye level. We get the confirmation of focus, and then we tilt the camera down. Looks really great. Now we're gonna do one more shot right here in the monochrome. I would like to have the big pier in the background, so let's just step back, Ira right here. That's perfect. Pier in the background. We've got the sun creating a shadow, so we're gonna move Ira over here. Yeah, and when we do that, we lose the pier in the background. So the best way to get this shot might be to switch over to the other side. Switching over to the other side is gonna put us foot shooting into the sun. So let's try it one more way right here before let's put this, there we go. We put our shadow on the other side. Love it. Now it's time for that selfie we promised, which is gonna be pretty simple in this case. We're going ahead and set our self timer, pushing left, clicking over here to our self timer. We turn it on for a 2-second countdown, and then we just turn it around and frame up. We're using a little mirror on the inside of the camera. I want some of that pier in the background. 3, 2, and perfect. And that was that. Yeah, having a lot of fun. Yeah, tell me about it. So that was it. I hope you found those tips useful. We're going to take it back to the studio to finalize the video and like and share. Talk to you in a minute. Hey friends out there, I hope you enjoyed that nice video, that vlog. It was a lot of fun with the boys today. Sweetheart's not feeling well, so we went out for a little photo safari of our own. A couple of cool things that happened was it was freezing, and even Ira managed to get some great shots on his Polaroid, which I guess I wouldn't really expect anything less. I thought that maybe they might turn out magenta. They actually turned out a little bit green shifted, but in either way, temperature affects Polaroid quite a bit. Lots of fun with those shots right there. Today we were actually shooting a couple of different kinds of film for the Instax Mini. We were shooting the mermaid tail as well as the black frame. Now I really like the black frame. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's a classic. I think it looks very good with the pale shots. You can actually see some of the demos from the digital files coming across the back, but I've been enjoying the mermaid tail as well. It's a metallic kind of frame, kind of like the rainbow frame, except it's got this shimmery little hue to it, which is, you know, really quite nice. I think it works well. If you're going to add things like this to your wedding photography or your portrait photography for your clients, having fun frames like this works very, very well. Now, a couple of things that I really enjoyed about today was just how easy it is to shoot with the Instax Mini Evo, specifically out and about. And of course, why wouldn't it be? FujiFilm has designed this camera to be easy to shoot with. My opinion on the camera's use has actually grown quite a bit, but the opinion on the digital files has not. The more I look at the digital files, the more that I see that they really are trash. They're really only good if you're going to go ahead and keep them for a digital backup of the camera. So let's talk about this camera as far as how you get great shots. I get absolutely wonderful images with this camera, and you can too. But you have to stop thinking about your instant photography as throwaway photography. It's not just a one and done. It's more than that. You don't get a second chance to do the shot, and if you want a good shot in the first place, composition, storytelling, composure, all those things come into play, posing, everything. I went over a lot of that in the video, but let's talk about what you need to know. If you're going to go, and this is a great tip for wedding photographers, photographers for your family in general, 3 shots. You need to understand what a shot is. A shot is a specific look of the frame. I'm not going to go into 1,000 parts of it, but I'm going to give you 3. You need what is called a close-up or a detail shot. That's your shoulders and your head, also known as a bust shot from the bust up. That's your detail shot or your close shot. And then you have from the waist up. For me, that is a traditional portrait shot. And then you have a wide or a full-length shot. A wide shot is literally wider. It's more environmental. Those different shot lengths tell a different story, and you go from focusing on the environment to focusing on the subject. Speaking as a portrait photographer only right now, because there are different ways you approach photographing different things, if you're going to be using Instax Mini film, it is truly best used in the portrait orientation. And for me, I find that it is best characterized by a full-length or closer shot. When you get into environmental shots with the camera, you begin to lose detail in your subject because your subject becomes so small. Also, there is a time when you might switch from the portrait orientation to the landscape orientation. This has to do with the number of people in the shot. 1 and 2 people in the shot, portrait orientation is going to be great. When you move from 3 or 4 people in the shot, like several of the selfies that you saw me take, we're going to want to switch to landscape orientation. It's just going to give each person more space in the frame. It won't crowd the frame. That's a very important thing to know. If you do want to talk about more wide type of shot, you're going to begin moving your subject out of the prominence in the frame and start showcasing the actual area. When you do that, you need to look for interesting leading lines, specifically the lines caused by the shadow and the negative lines caused by, well, the pylons here, which when printed are almost completely blown out. Using this type of high and low key photography at the same time will create a striking dramatic result. You need to pair that with balance in the frame. We've got balance in the frame because we've got the negative space here balanced by the positive space there, or vice versa. And then, in order to demonstrate that wide shot versus the close shot, when we do to our environmental shot like this, as you can see, notice that our subject is completely lost. So when we only have one person and we're backed away, yes, I like this photo and it's a great representation of what was happening, but this is where Instax Mini Film begins to break down. I would not go much wider than this when trying to tell your story. Here we've got a couple things that help us, and it says Virginia Beach Fishing Pier in the sign up top. So I'm using the Virginia Beach Fishing Pier plus the poles that hold that sign up as a frame for the photo. And because the words are very large, it adds quite a bit of context to what's happening in the photo without me saying anything. I don't even need a subtitle. It just happens on its own. So putting my son there beneath it makes sense. These are iconic spots that I photograph with all the time down at the Virginia Beach oceanfront and where I do my photos. Quite a bit of fun. The final thing I want to talk about is the difference in frames. Let's do, let's do this one and this one. When we talk frames right here, and I guess that's not exactly fair because they're two different kinds of shots. Let's do these two. Great. So similar to the both of them. When you think about frames and you think about colors, I'm trying to get this to be just right on for you right there. When you think about frames and you think about colors, there's a couple things that are important, and I'm going to kind of move close so you can see. Notice that the mermaid frame right here and the light leaks work well, but it seems that the contrast of the black frame works even better. When you think about your shots, specifically when you're photographing, you have to think about your frame as well as your light leak as well as your film effect that you're using. These images will not allow for you to change or do anything with them later. So you need to make sure you do it in camera. Also, you might notice that several of the images are offset to the horizon. And although I do like to have a level horizon, specifically with Instax Mini, a more casual film stock, it is okay to use an orientation that best suits your subject. So if you're shooting in an environment like a pier that's got lots of pylons that go at jaunty little angles, it makes a little more sense if your horizon isn't perfect. However, getting your horizon perfect will make zooming in and cropping in post before printing easier. I had a great time using this camera today. I really like the camera for what it does well, and I just wish that Fujifilm had given it a better sensor, because you truly could use this camera to document your life if it had a more modern sensor. I did a whole video about the sensor. I will leave you on one parting thing, since you made it to the end of the vlog, and I hope you've had a good time. I think Fujifilm is poised to bring back the consumer camera in a reimagined form. The cell phone killed the consumer camera, the camera that you and I used to always carry around, and even the smaller pocketable cameras, not even like the cameras I used to carry around in place of the smaller pocketable cameras. I think Fujifilm could actually put this entire package into one of their smaller frame, smaller sensor cameras like the 30 series that they had back in 2015 and 2016, and include the printing function. Also include the print function for direct print from the cell phone, but with a little bit better sensor and a actual lens. A larger sensor, well, a larger, better sensor and a multi-element lens like you would find on that XA30 camera, and you would have yourself an absolute winner. Those cameras were 1/2.5 inch sensors or 1/2.3 inch sensors, depending on the model that you got, and they were really great pocketable cameras. Some of them even had a 24-70 equivalent zoom. Think about that with this capability. They were very thin cameras to begin with, so adding something like to this wouldn't cause a lot of bulk, and it could be a whole lot of fun. I hope that Fujifilm continues to pioneer this direction, because this is no longer a gimmick. Instax for me has never been a gimmick, but the hybrid Instax camera has been, and this camera right here has made me a believer. I truly enjoy its features. I just wish it had a few better hardware improvements. Well, maybe for the next time. Guys, I'm Rob. If you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Use the Amazon and PayPal links down below to send me a cup of coffee or help support the channel by purchasing your laundry detergent or more Fujifilm film or camera through those links. I'll get a couple pennies every time you do. I want to thank you for watching and remind you I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now.